Welcome back into Spotlight. Only a couple of weeks left of the regular college football season. Yes, we have the playoff and bowl games, and that's great for guys who are looking to make their name even more well-known getting ready for the draft. The draft is still 5 months away, but this is the time, Mike Renner, when these guys are putting themselves out there. I was at the Boise State game with San Jose State, and I am telling you, there were scouts up and down the sideline. So let's talk about some of the risers and followers here. We're going to talk about a follower, A&M. Connor Weigman, quarterback, was thought to be the future of A&M, gets injured, eventually gets benched. How much has his draft stock fallen?
Oh, I mean, it's cratered. It has gone to the absolute floor. He may even have to transfer, likely will this offseason after so much promise. You know, he was a highly recruited guy as a sophomore, had a few big games before that foot injury, so much hype for him coming into the season, and it fell flat from week one. Notre Dame game right out the gate, he was terrible. Obviously gets benched against LSU. He's not getting his job back anytime soon. It's not over for him. We've seen redemption stories in college football, but man, he is going to have to claw his way back up to get into the draft conversation.
The good thing for A&M, you guys are looking good, and the SEC and everything like that, but we do have another faller there, defensive lineman Shamar Turner. Why is he falling too?
Yeah, the Texas A&M defensive line is just loaded, and they thought this was going to be a dominant unit heading into the season with him being a big part of it, but he's kind of just looked like a guy this year. His pressure total has been cut in half from a year ago. 36 pressures as a junior, only 18 this season. You're going to need to see more production from a guy who's an undersized sort of defensive tackle. They move him around a little bit. He's versatile. But if you are undersized playing on the interior, you better be able to affect the passing game. And we just have not seen that enough from him this season. So unfortunately, A&M, they got a lot of talent that's still going to go in the first round of this draft, but he ain't going to be one of them.
We're going to stay in the state of Texas. Congratulations. You can go horns up here. We're going to talk about a Texas Longhorn. Look at him. He's looking all like serious back there. SEC defensive lineman of the week, Alfred Collins, had a monster game against Arkansas, I believe.
Yep.
What do we know about this guy and where his draft stock is going?
His draft stock has gone through the roof. He had this massive opportunity. Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat, 2 top 50 picks last year, leaving this huge hole in the middle, and the 320-pounder has filled it with ease. He is one of the best run defenders in this draft class. Can push the pocket a little bit, but he will be drafted because of what he can do as a two-gapper. He's long, he's stout at the point of attack, he can control opposing offensive linemen, and everyone's looking for those guys in the interior. They want, in the NFL nowadays, to defend the run from light boxes. Alfred Collins gives you that ability at any position along the defensive interior. Because of that, I think he's worked his way into probably the second round sort of conversation at this point.
Staying with the defense here, going to a totally different team, though. We're going to look at Marshall linebacker Mike Green. I believe the past couple of games, it's not necessarily been the whole season, but the past 3 games, this guy's really broken out. Yeah,
he has been a star this season for Marshall. Was a part-time player a year ago. I don't know who Marshall had on their defensive line that they could afford to give this guy part-time snaps, but he could be playing his way into a top 50 pick with what he's done of late. You see him coming off the edge. He's super explosive, super flexible, a little bit undersized, but those guys you can get away with at the NFL level nowadays. He'll have a chance to prove himself at Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, one of those postseason All-Star games, but what we've seen on tape against his level of competition has been elite.
Let's go to a tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. And we were on yesterday with Ryan. Potentially teams like the Chiefs are looking for another tight end with Travis Kelce. You had another name there. However, what do we need to know about Fannin Jr. here? And potentially, I mean, where could he go in the draft?
Well, he's the most productive tight end in college football and one of the most productive tight ends ever. 1,170 yards, 8 touchdowns. That is the second most yardage of anyone in college football. Not just tight ends, where he does lead all tight ends, but wide receivers as well. This guy is exceptional after the catch. When the ball is in his hands, he basically turns into a running back. You see him on tape right there, his ability to stop, start, make guys miss. Now, undersized tight ends, they often look better in college than they do in the NFL, but I think we're seeing NFL teams getting a little, warming up to him a little. The Isaiah Likely types are succeeding and finding a role in the NFL nowadays. I think he could very easily, at the end of the day, this guy, be a top 50 pick.
We've seen a top tight end come out of Georgia football and Brock Bowers, who's done amazing. Another one, Oscar Delp. What do we need to know about him and where he could potentially go?
Yeah, he was a guy that I thought could have really filled in Brock Bowers' shoes. We talk about Alfred Collins filling in the shoes of a first rounder. He had that opportunity there at Georgia as well, where they feature the tight end in that offense heavily. Has not come to fruition. He was a highly recruited guy, high-end athlete, but just the production has not been there. 13 catches, 175 yards all season long. A guy I thought could have worked his way in the first rounder. Now he could maybe coming back to Georgia next year because his stock will not be where he wants it to be.
How much of a difference can things make here and the next handful of weeks for some of these guys?
It's huge, especially those teams fighting for playoff spots. If you're an NFL evaluator, NFL scout, you want to see the guys playing the best competition, and you're going to get that in those weeks. And then at those Shrine and Senior Bowls, playing against other guys who are going to be at the NFL level, massive for their draft stocks.
Also, I didn't even think about this up until this point, but the issue over the past handful of years has been bowl games, and we're seeing so many of these players opt out of them. I don't believe we would see the same thing in the playoff.
They ain't opting out of the playoff.
Yeah.
You have to be crazy to opt out of the playoff nowadays.
Right? Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, I agree. Mike Renner, thank you so much. Pushing the pile. Is Kyle behaving himself these days?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. What have you guys got going on this week?
This week we just did Pete's Power Rankings today, and we're doing some deep dives with Jay Doozable tomorrow.
Thank you.